All right, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, the 28th of May, 2025. All right, quick sound check. We'll get jumping in here. We've got a frisky NQ here into the open. A little 1 hour squeeze action, the white arrow, and they're trying to get through these recent highs. Let's see. Recent high would be, let's get specific. The recent high would be 21,562. Yeah, so 21,562. And they are currently trying to sniff that out. But good looking pop there. The S&P futures are up a little bit. And you got a 1 hour squeeze on that bad boy. And then the RUT is flat. The YM is flat. Bitcoin down a bit. And gold futures up about a third. But all right, jump into the big three sheet. Let's go get our bearings. All right, we got the indexes with 57% of their strongest possible score. Stuff. You got the 10 basket, which is these guys. They got 68% of their best score. Sectors at 54, and collectively we are at 57% of the strongest possible market. Bullish with room for improvement. We've got QQQ at 85%, S&P's at 79, Dow Jones at 57. I got the IWM twice somehow. And then what else I got here? The sectors. Bitcoin at 93%, XLP, utilities, industrials, communications. There's the Big 10 basket creeping up with 81%. And then XLY, you got silver, you got Cathie Wood. Financials, the SMH. I imagine a big night here for the SMH with NVIDIA earnings. And then you got XLK, gold, XLB, and a few more. Healthcare still negative, energy and biotech still negative. All right, and then top 10 would be good handful of names have their perfect score. The FAST, Monster Beverage, CTAS, VRSK, code. We took our profit at the open yesterday. And then Travelers, Paychecks, GE, Philip Morris, and Booking.com. A few of the COP, UNH, BMY. I know a lot of healthcare energy. Got ExxonMobil, TMO, Dow, and KDP. Looking at the Big 10 basket, I don't love Apple. A little tough to love Apple with a negative 54. Just keep in mind how big of an apple Apple is. Keep in mind how big of a heavily weighted name it is. Makes up a good chunk of the S&Ps, makes up a good chunk of the QQQ, the XLK. If that could get a little bit better, great for the QQQ. If it just keeps on getting worse, could get to a point where it has a negative impact on the Googles, the Amazons, all the better looking names. Broadcom at 97%, Netflix at 97%. I got Microsoft looking pretty good here. Tesla's at 85%. So the only one I wouldn't look for a long in would be Apple. Google's fair game, Amazon, NVIDIA, all the above. And then a few of my favorites are Fast, Crowd, Netflix, Broadcom, the Bitcoin. You got the Microsoft, some Tesla, some Meta, some Spotify, and the DoorDash. Go looking at a few of those here. All right, QQQ coming in a little bit. It's a big spot here for the Qs. But all right, let's go take a look at Crowd. We had bought back on Friday and took profits on yesterday. Just the classic setup. White arrow on the hourly squeeze. Squeeze, perfect structure, perfect trend, score of 15. So we had that on the hourly, we had that on the daily, and here on the weekly. It makes for a great trio, if you ask me. So yeah, we had bought that on Friday, cashed out yesterday. Now to be fair, I think he got room into 480, 485, but earnings are next week. So we took the paycheck and ran. We got that one. We also bought some Spotify yesterday. White arrow on the daily chart and a white arrow on the weekly squeeze. Actually, no white arrow on the weekly just yet. But for the sake of that daily squeeze there, we're wrong on the idea back under, called it 630. And they got a call wall up here at 700. So I think anything into 680, 695 could make for a good target on that one. We also picked up some FAST. And now we'll find out how fast it is. But I think a lot to like here. White arrow on the weekly, white arrow on the 3-day, white arrows on the 2-day squeeze, and a white arrow on the daily squeeze. That makes it the elusive quadruple white arrow squeeze. We are wrong back under 40.50. We'll move into 43 and change. So we're out of crowd. We got that one. We got the Spotify. We've also got some MicroStrategy. And this can be the tricky thing about playing the weekly squeezes. Right, we bought it around 415. They've pulled it back to about 370 and change. And if you look at the weekly chart on that pullback, nothing's changed. Everything I liked about it back here at 415, I still like the same exact characteristics. You got the big weekly squeeze setting up. You got the white arrow. Really good trend, really good structure, momentum. It remains an A+ setup. But again, the tricky thing about playing the weekly squeeze can be, you might buy that thing up here at 415. They could pull it back to about 350, 340. It'll still be an A+ weekly squeeze. One little observation I made here was a lot like MSTR. When we bought Crowd back on Friday, Crowd also had the weekly squeeze. And it's a bigger time frame in compression. They can kind of take their sweet time. I think the real kicker for getting that short-term push, buy it on a Monday, get paid by a Tuesday kind of thing. You want to take that weekly squeeze, pop open the hood, and I think very much to your benefit, if inside that weekly squeeze you got something like a daily squeeze setting up, a 4-hour and hourly, what that can do for you is take that bigger time frame, give it a bit of a kickstart. So for Crowd here, you look back at the 1-hour squeeze. They pop it, they trigger it long, they break it out. That gives you a good push. That good push goes and fires your daily squeeze. That push can then get your weekly squeeze going. Looking at the MicroStrategy example, and again, I love that weekly chart, but when I'm buying that, my daily chart's all the way up here. Not in a daily squeeze, not at the buy zone, not really locked and loaded for a fresh move. Kind of quite the opposite. It had already pumped from about 240 all the way into 420. So I'm coming in thinking, all right, I'm going to buy it, catch an immediate breakout. Daily chart says, all right, I'm a little bit tuckered out after almost doubling. I maybe got to pull back for a bit, and then down the road, we'll go and see what's up here with that weekly squeeze. Where again, take a Crowd example, take Apple from last year. Here comes Apple, picture perfect weekly squeeze. What gave you that immediate push, or I think a big part of it, that picture perfect daily squeeze under the surface. Your daily chart is basically screaming up to your weekly chart. All right, I'm locked and loaded. I'm on board. Let's get the job done. Not all right. I got to pull back for a bit and catch my breath, drink a little Gatorade, rebuild. So little conversation on timing there. But yeah, going back to MicroStrategy, I still like the weekly squeeze. Again, I'm gonna like it down to about 340 for the sake of our June expiration called debit spread. Might be dead money on that one for now. But all right, couple things I would like to buy in addition to Spotify and Fast. One would be let's go look at say DoorDash. Couple squeezes setting up here for the Dasher. All right, the Dash with a weekly, a 3-day, a 4-hour, and a 2-hour squeeze. And again, you could take that weekly squeeze, and if they can turn the corner, break it out, fire that thing long, there might be a bigger picture path to 235, 240. But if you don't have that daily squeeze setting up or a 4-hour, a 2-day squeeze, something to give you that immediate oomph, that could be a path that plays out over the course of, a little bit longer than you might want to call for. To DoorDash's benefit, you also have a 3-day and a 4-hour squeeze. Go checking that bad boy out, 3-day squeeze. All right, you're pumping, you pull back, and you're chopping, you're chopping, you're chopping. Here comes your squeeze, here comes your white arrow. Off you go, you pull back, you're chopping, here comes your squeeze, here comes another white arrow. They maybe want that 225, 230. And then drop to the 4. Ooh. It's a brand new 4-hour squeeze. My preference is maybe get about 3 to 4 bars into the squeeze. But yeah, talking about Kickstarters, that could be one there on the DoorDash 4-hour. So I'm watching that one, and from that we can jump over to Broadcom. Now, the only tricky thing here about a swing trade on an NVIDIA, a Broadcom, a TSM, an SMH, for better or worse, the entire picture could change after NVIDIA earnings tonight. We wake up to it at 150 tomorrow. It'll be a great one to be long NVIDIA, Broadcom, Qualcomm, Micron, of the cons. They go gapping the thing down to 125, 115. I don't think being long any kind of semiconductor would work out all that well. So I'm thinking my best bet is maybe hold off for now. Get through the fireworks of earnings. They maybe jump in, look for a path to play on a couple of them. NVIDIA grades out pretty good. Shall think a little bit more about that tomorrow. And then one I've been watching for a brand new daily squeeze, and I finally got it. Nope, I lied to you. They took it out of a daily squeeze before the close. They maybe go back in. But for Palantir here, one of the strongest names in the market as of late. You got the big push off the bottom. You dip, you push, you dip, you push. Now you've entered a little bit more of the breath phase. We're not breaking out, not taking out the highs, not taking out the lows. We've instead chopped long enough to go into a 4-hour, 2-hour, hourly, 30-minute, 5-minute squeeze. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe it's next week. At some point, they should begin the fire. And at that point, you got a good shot of calling for your next decent directional move. 30-minute fire is long, hourly fire is long. You get that kind of domino effect going. Should pop back into. I look for about 135. They all begin to misbehave and fire short. Palantir could have come in a little bit more. But yeah, if they could throw in a daily squeeze, then I really, really like it. I'm looking to buy it above 120. But I got to get a good buy trigger. Big 3 signals on the 4-hour chart are neutral. 2-hour neutral, hourly neutral, 30, 15, 5. We get a little bit more green in the garden. Could be setting up for a pop. All right, from that, we can jump over to Tesla. If they can hold their ground and keep it above 50, This could get pretty interesting here in the short term. The kind of thing you maybe keep looking for a buy on a 5-minute squeeze, 15-minute, 30-minute, and then above that 350, figure out how high is high. One thing I do want to go look at real quick, these spot levels. All right, call wall from spot gamma. Call wall at 400 and a put wall at 335. Now, that's not nothing. That's about a $40 move. I'm not saying to go buy the 400 strike call. But again, if they can keep it above 350, I like it for a dip buy to an hourly 21 EMA. I like it for a buy on a 5-minute squeeze, 15-minute, 30-minute. Wherever they shall squeeze it. Back below the 350 might be a little choppy in the short term. Above the 350, she can shine. But all right, talked NVIDIA, we talked some DoorDash, looked at some Tesla, looked at some Palantir. And then Bitcoin, Netflix, Crowd, and FAST. Netflix for me is a bit of a tough read. Although if they keep on, let me go check the call wall on that one actually. If they above 1200, that could get pretty interesting. Let's see, Netflix and chill. Oh shoot, yeah, they did it. They done did it. Call wall to 1.21. Which I guess they did that about a week ago. No, never mind. I'm cooked. That's 1210. Woohoo! They have pumped the call wall up about $10. You know, if they pop the thing in at 1250, 1300, all right, now you got a good runway. Too familiar with the spot gamma levels. These can be very magnetic. And here's how I like them for a trade. So going back about a couple of weeks ago, Netflix has a call wall at 1200. And again, think of that like a big magnetic level. If you've got good lower time frame alignment, strong indexes, couple of buy signals, Netflix might want to path into that call wall. So one of my favorite trades is you back here. This was the 15th of May. And then down here around 1150, right? You're a good 40, $50 away from that big call wall. Perfect 30-minute squeeze. Right, perfect score of 15, A plus, the structure, white arrow. I love that trade. 30-minute squeeze at 1150. I'm buying my calls. I'm catching the push towards a call wall. We took profit around 1180, a little cashola on the table. But I love that trade. I'm taking that lower time frame squeeze. And I've got a decent runway between the current price and that big level. Coming in by the 2-hour squeeze right now. It's a little bit different context. I'm at the call wall. I'm at the magnet, not a good 30, 40, 50 fit. Can make it a little trickier. But all right, y'all, that is the bulk of what I got for you there. Go check these NQs. Yeah, really big spots here. It's indeed. But all right, any chart requests, any questions for me, drop them here in the chat. And then we shall see what today can bring. Finished up my my prop trading for the morning. And so here's the irony of not following your own game plan. I'm up last night. I'm up early this morning. BS. Right, not taking my white arrow trade. I'm buying for different reasons, getting short for different reasons. And at one point, I had the account down about 1,400 on the day. And this is a 100K account here with Top Step, an express account. I need 3 more days of a day of. What do I need? A lot of things. I need 3 more days of at least $200 of profit or more. Then I can begin to take the payouts. So, I'm kind of venturing from the game plan this morning, digging myself a decent hole. And then here comes the NQ, right? White arrow on the hourly chart. Old Faithful, jump in, get long, and that wiped away my sins and took me profitable. So no more prop trading for me today. But all right, let me get caught up in the chat, see what you folks have got, and then let me check futures for you real quick. The only one printing the A plus right now is the NQ hourly. But patient, these could all turn into an A plus setup. 5 minute on the NQ, gold futures, ES, the RUT, the YM, hourly ES, hourly RUT, YM, a couple of 4 hour. Got some cash market squeezes, bunch of 5 minute on the Big 10, the 15 minute. No lack of the squeezage. Yeah, Tesla to 420. You won't hear me complaining. I'm here for it. All right, good morning, Mike. Meta. I have heard of her, but I never met her. All right, checking the rankings here. A bullish, bearish, or neutral. And Meta would be very bullish. 97 points, 81% of its strongest score. Very respectable. And now you got a good hold here of your daily 8 EMA with a 4 hour, 2 hour, 5 minute squeeze. I got to update the spot gamma levels on the big 3 sheet. But before I do that, checking Meta here, call wall would be, drum roll, the big old 700. All right, call wall at 7. He got support at the 8 EMA, 4 hour, 2 hour squeeze. I would love to buy it on a white arrow squeeze. That could be the current 4 hour. That could be the current 2 hour. That could be a fresh 30 minute, 15, a 5, a 2. I might even go dabble with a 1 minute. But yeah, good hold of your daily 8, good hold of your 4 hour 200. If they can keep it north of 615, give that 4 hour squeeze time to play out there. Looking like it'll be a little flat here at the open, which might be to our benefit if we're trying to snag it. All right, good morning, guys. And then checking the YouTubes. All right, Tommy's got some Google. And if you guys don't mind, give me 30 seconds. I will be right back. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so Google, the googly goog, checking the rankings, and you got 63% of max strength. All right, 5 minute squeeze, a 3 day, and a 2 day. We got a 2 day, 2 day. To be honest, I don't love either of them for a giant swing trade. Reason being, they don't look like the weekly chart for crowd. And I love that kind of thing for a big swing. Squeeze, white arrow, perfect 15, the trend, momentum, the structure. Where the 3-day and the 2-day for Google lean bullish. I would never short that. 8 out of 15, bullish trend, neutral structure, bull momentum. But in terms of the full shebang, could get a little bit better. And then shorter term thinking here, checking the call wall. Call wall drops down to 175 from 180. So in terms of with it right here, right now, I would look for a long entry above the 200 SMA around 171. Could be a dip to an hourly 21, could be a 5-minute squeeze, 15-minute squeeze. And then above that 200 SMA, if anything, look for a kickback into that 175 call wall. Not a giant move by any stretch, but on a weekly expiration call could still be good for a decent bang for your buck. They give it time to keep on building out that 3-day squeeze, building out that 2-day squeeze. Could turn into a white arrow setup at some point down the road. All right, good morning, Miles. Miles has got some GRAL, the growl. I like it. I like it. Beautiful 4-arrow squeeze. Really good stuff here. Momentum kick, white arrow, 15 points. We like it. Good looking 2-hour squeeze. We like that as well. Yeah, good call out. Looks like a somewhat recent IPO. Yeah, pretty clean. I like that 4-hour chart. If they can get that 4-hour squeeze going, might be a good push in that. Nice call out. All right, and then Roberto. Good morning, Roberto. Microsoft. What's up, Terry? Always good to see you, man. All right, checking the Microsoft, then we'll wrap it up here, guys. Call wall for the micro. 470. We got to realize we are at a point where a huge push off the bottom, big gap up, pushing. They could pull it back to 440. Nothing will really change. Still have a good score, still have good trend, you'll still have good structure. So until you get that bigger pullback, I want to keep the ideas a little bit more short term. So what I would do is mark up the daily AEMA. Maybe call it 450. And then above that 450, can I find a spot to buy it? And then play for a path up into that 470 call wall. And then the current 5-minute chart here, not too bad. 2-hour squeeze. Little bit of a divergence. Momentum on the decline, price on the incline. But if they can reload and get that back above zero, that might give you a kick. All right, and then 4-hour Microsoft. Momentum decline, price keeps pushing. Yeah, I would look for a really clean 15-minute squeeze, 30-minute 1 hour, or buy on a dip, then look for a path into 470. Where's the all-time high? Conveniently right near 470. Yeah, I would work that game plan. Above the 450, can I find the path into the previous all-time highs? I don't think asking for too much, but market might have other things in mind. But all right, y'all, thank you again. Much appreciate your time here at the Open. Folks, in my room, I'm going to go heat up the coffee, and I'll catch you in our room in about 4 or 5 minutes. And then, oh yeah, quick reminder here. How could I forget? Jump real quick here to the economic calendar. No, thank you. And we have the Fed minutes at 2 o'clock. Could be a little shaking of the tree. But thank y'all again. Hope you find it helpful, and I'll be back with you same time, same channel on Monday. So catch y'all then. Adios.